Those press conferences
Yeah.
are Dave, you and I got to go through our first
Yeah.
one.
I was like, when is, as much as you love being there, you're like, okay, when is this over? Right? It was a little much.
It was a little much, but those press conferences, and it's funny that I saw a whole lot of comments because I was checking it out after I got flamed and looking around and seeing what everybody was saying about those scrums. And it's kind of a really a difficult spot for people when you're asking questions, except like when you're asking Tony. There you're kind of in reality, but it's very awkward because you're asking questions that you're kind of coming in between reality and fiction. And then people say, well, these press conferences are worthless. These guys aren't journalists. What are your thoughts on handling those press conferences like that? Because it is rough.
So, Mark, I think when you were on In the Weeds on Overbooked, we talked about this. And the way I put it was it's a kayfabe vortex. You are in there trying to get real answers out of performers, and some are performing and some are not. Peek behind the curtain, we were told in the room by someone who worked in AEW that, oh, get ready, Will Ospreay's his press conference is going to be something else. He's going to be fired up. That wasn't exactly what we got. We got a very raw and honest Will Ospreay who was willing to answer just about every single question pitched at him. But we were told, like, you're going to get an in-character Will Ospreay. Nope, we didn't. And then we had Toni Storm, who, by the way, I think she does these masterfully because she gets in, she gets out, and she just does her character. And you know what you're getting out of her. And that's where it's okay if you're a reporter who's talking about whatever, just trying to get some sort of article, some sort of info. You can ask that kind of question to her, and yeah, she'll have fun with it. So it is how you navigate the waters, understanding what wrestlers coming in with what demeanor. Bryan Danielson, very open, very honest. Tony Khan, he'll pitch you on everything before he actually answers the question. That's no shade of Tony Khan. I felt like I really got the only straight non-publicity answer out of him when I asked him about Final Countdown and how the rights fees came about on that. And he gave a very honest and very full answer, and I didn't have to push back too hard. And that's something that I hope more people who are in that room get to do. And that is push back when they want a little bit more than what you're getting out of those press conferences.
Yeah, David enjoyed it.
Yeah, Mark got roasted. See, you asking the right questions.
I like how he does that. Mark got roasted, but yes, you did ask the right.
Yeah, that's the viral moment we got to take
That's the
away.
lead-in.
Like, yeah, you asked a great question. I like the Final Countdown. That was you, huh?
Yeah, that was me because
Okay.
when they walked into the room, when Danielson walked into the room, someone kind of alluded to it, and then nobody followed up on it. And so when it was just Tony alone, kind of turned to Kate. I'm like, did anyone ask about Final Countdown and the rights? And she said, I don't think so. So I just wrote out a question and I was like, okay, here we go. And yeah, that was me.
Yeah, respected journalist, not getting roasted by Mark. You embarrassed us, Mark.
Stop it.
John, I got a question for you. So is that something that you're doing? Because you kind of mentioned how some things don't get asked or don't get asked a certain way, right? Or you got to push a little more. Is that something that you make like a priority for yourself when you see other journalists that are there doing the WWE or any type of wrestling coverage to maybe ask the type of questions that no one else is trying to ask?
I try to ask different questions. It also depends where I am. If I'm at a media scrum, so I was at Elimination Chamber in Montreal for WWE, and I had a chance to speak to a lot of different stars. I spoke to Natalia. I spoke to Austin Theory. I spoke to Bronson Reed and Raquel Rodriguez and Sami Zayn. And my questions there were mostly lighthearted because I want them to feel comfortable doing what is essentially going down the line and being asked the same questions the entire time. So for me, it was like, hey, Bronson Reed, you've done the fabled NXT Halloween Battle Royal. Talk to me about that. And we kind of got into that. And then he had tried to order food on Uber Eats the night before. So I was like, did you have Schwartz's, which is a very famous deli in Montreal? And we started talking about food and just like ridiculous things that kind of break them out of their shell and make them feel more confident because, or more just more comfortable, because you never know down the line if you're going to speak to them again and they're going to be like, oh, I remember this dude. He asked me this. And now I feel comfortable knowing that he's not going to try and take me down the path of weird questioning and try to get a clickbait article out of me. Because wrestling's weird like that. You know, people get their guards up and I understand it. So for me, the more comfortable I can make and the more normal I can make these interactions, the better. And, you know, I hate putting over Sean Ross Sapp because he's technically my boss, but that's something I learned from him.
Don't do it.
Do it.
Oh, no, I'm kidding. I love Sean. I, well, you know, of course,